What's up? Welcome back to GAMERViCE. If you didn't notice, things look a little different right now, and that's because we in the studio. I don't know if we call this the studio, but we'll call it the studio for now. But yeah, man, we're trying something else with an episode today. Yeah. You got myself, Hank, and the one and only Kevin. You know, good to see everybody. Big news to talk about today. Kevin, what do you think's the biggest thing we have to talk about today?
I mean, it's pretty obvious the biggest thing right now has got to be FTC, Microsoft. That whole thing is done deal now. Microsoft won the appeal from FTC. So now FTC, they can't do anything that has expired. So they've ran out of time to do anything. So now the Microsoft is cleared to do stuff. As far as the US is concerned, they still have two more spots. They have CMA, which is the UK. And then I believe they still have to deal with New Zealand a while back. But those are two. I mean, New Zealand, I think, is kind of a small thing. I think they'll get that done easy. The UK one is the bigger one. That should be done in I would say Tuesday, Wednesday.
Now, for those tuning in and maybe haven't been keeping up with this news, and maybe you can help me here because I don't fully grasp it. Let's say the CMA declines it, right?
Yeah.
Does this just mean the Activision Blizzard has to remain independent when it comes to Europe? And then, but the USA, China, or whatever, Japan, South Africa, where all those other commissions, they all passed it. So can the deal still go through with them? And it just means in the countries of Europe, they wouldn't be able to do the same things.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure what it means is they can still go through with the deal, but there's two things I've heard. I heard either they have to separate Activision in the UK, so that way Activision is its own separate
It's like company. Activision UK,
yeah.
Okay.
Or the crazier thing I've heard is they go through with the deal and I don't think this is gonna happen, but they go through with the deal and then just those games are not gonna be in the UK, in that region.
Wouldn't that be some shit now? Oh wow. Okay, that's crazy. All right. So what? I'm trying to think now. This deal's going through. We as of a couple hours ago, we even found out some new details that we'll get into. But what can we expect from Microsoft now? How does this move forward? Now, when you talk price increase, what are we talking?
Obviously, Game Pass got to be.
Game Pass, right? So this is the big thing, right? Everyone, especially the Xbox fanboys. We are not fanboys here, by the way, right?
I mean,
we just.
I've never had an Xbox. I don't want to say that I haven't seen an Xbox in this room because it's just not on camera right now. But I'm gonna tell you that there are at least one Xbox in this room. I'll just leave it at that. But.
No fanboys though.
But no fanboys.
Because my thing is, I was just all for the deal because of how Sony was trying to stop this. It was one thing if it really was not going to get stopped on its own.
Yeah.
But clearly, the only reason this even got this far is because of Sony, the whining, the relationship with somebody at the FTC, and having previously worked at. It goes deep. Who even knows? But it's big acquisition and Game Pass is great. But I think what we start to forget is they brought in this library. They keep spending $69 billion on something. We're gonna see price hikes. Okay, it's we're having Netflix or anything. Netflix started at $9.99. This thing's all the way up to $18.99, right? Game Pass has already started moving its way. It was $9.99. Now we had the $14.99, and even most recently, what is it? $17.99.
I think it's $17.99. Yeah.
I think this automatically when they decide to, because obviously I don't know if it's gonna take a month or it's going to take a couple months. We're going to expect to see some sort of Activision Blizzard games on Game Pass.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. There was talks about things I saw. I'm going to have to find out the details on it. Somebody Twitter talks and threads and things like that coming up on Twitter. Diablo 4, the president was it's not going to be on Game Pass. I don't know what stipulations there are in there, if that's actually possible, if it really comes down to he's just talking smoke, would like it not to be, but at the end of the day, Phil Spencer gets to say yes or no to that. But we can assume Call of Duty was in the big one, we'll see that on Game Pass, or whether it's Tony Hawk or Crash, all those Activision games, that's added games that we didn't have on Game Pass before. They own a big company now.
Yeah.
We can expect a price hike.
Yeah.
So it's like they already price hiked it before we even they knew they had Activision.
Yeah.
If I'm being honest, I see $19.99 being the minimum and $24.99 being the max within this year, like within a year's period from now. And then who's to say what it can become? And if we start talking, like the max I ever see it going to, if they start buying another big company, is like $29, $99, $30. And at that point though, now we say, for that, like we'd be like, oh yo, Game Pass, look what I got. But now it's at a point where that price is like, bro, that's a good what are we talking, $360 out of you a month, a year?
Yeah.
That's, if you keeping it, like, that's a lot of money. And if I take $360 and then I do like, you know, divided by the $70, like, do I play that many games in a whole year? When you ask me, how many new games do I buy? Like, but again, the great thing about it is though you can test games that you would have never tested too. It's basically like any other subscription though. It's like, what are you personally, the person are you gonna get your money's worth?
But
everybody's different.
But here's the thing, we both have Game Pass.
Yeah, I have Game Pass.
When was the last time you used Game Pass? When was the last time? I'll even put it even more specific. When was the last time you used Game Pass and you actually played a game
for 3 hours even?
Yeah.
Couldn't tell you.
Couldn't tell me.
So I'm actually, oh my God, Xbox, are you the only ones? Because I'm a big subscription guy. I don't let companies get me. I cancel things. I'll use free trials. I'll cancel it before. I'm big. Xbox might be the only one that got one over on me because it's like I almost feel like at some point I'll need it, so it's like I get it. What? All right, I'm thinking, is it Halo? Jesus Christ, Halo. And that was only a couple hours because I don't play that garbage. What was their next party game? I don't know. Don't laugh at me, dog. Yeah, that's a good point. But moving forward, Sony.
Oh.
After all this crybaby talk, and again, I don't care. It's just funny, man. Like seeing these two companies go at it. Like I'm gonna just judge from the outside where I don't care what happens with either.
Yeah.
Sony, crybaby city. Oh, we don't want this deal to go through. Oh, all the whining and crying, but they got, you know, how many exclusive games they have and have paid for it. They, after all the, like, I'm not signing this deal. No, that's not what we want. We're gonna give you this. I'll sign it if basically you say you buy Activision, but it's still Activision on its own. But that's weird, because as of 6 hours ago, this recording, Sony signs the deal to keep Call of Duty on PlayStation, Kevin. What does that say about Sony?
Sony's weak. That's what it means. Sony is so weak. For somebody who keeps crying about this one game, and that's basically which is weird because the Activision Blizzard deal, every time you hear something from Xbox, they're like, it's more than just Call of Duty. It's their mobile division. They have a huge library, right? It's more than Call of Duty. Whenever you hear something from Sony, it's like, yeah, but Call of Duty. Yeah, but Call of Duty.
You're right.
It's like, what are we talking about? And then to sit there and be on both sides of the fence, right? Because at one point they were like, Call of Duty. This is gonna shake up the market share, and you know, this is such a big deal. But then when you go into their emails and stuff, their private conversations are like, Call of Duty is not a big deal. We're sure we'll still have it anyways. Or even if they get it, it won't be a big deal. It's fine. Now, after all this is done, now they still want to have a deal, want to make a deal with Microsoft. It's like, yo, you guys are so, I don't know. It's just such a weird week. It just shows that Sony looks like they're in such a weak position.
Yeah. No, I just think.
And it's so weird because they are the market share leaders. They're the ones who have, I mean, and it's true. Even before any of this, even before we started this podcast, when the PS4 was out, when the PS5 was coming out, when the PS5 came out, it was like, it seemed like people wanted the PS5 way more than an Xbox. But they talk, and like their demeanor is of somebody who's in the weaker position. Like, like they're the ones, they're the victims or something. Like they're the minority. Yeah,
just own it. And at this point, we're talking about, you still have, let's also say, I guess EA, who is Battlefield, but I'm not even saying, like, Call of Duty has the name, but I don't think it's impossible.
Let's be honest.
People want a shooter. Clearly, then they've made people unhappy, whether it is the rumor that we kind of started, or I guess the theory that we suggested, I think it was our boy Logan who suggested the theory, ever since this deal also is a lot. It's been a little bit before, but ever since the deal is when Activision and Call of Duty has kind of been shitty.
Yeah.
Kind of like, are they trying to make it shitty, you know, so this deal goes through and they'll actually clean up their act. Like, clearly you would think such a big AAA, you know, studio company, they should be able to make a game, but it's like, it's a shooter. Why don't you guys go out of your way, try to buy get another shooter to compete with it? Like,
here's the crazy thing. They have Killzone, that's their IP.
Yeah, they stopped. They let it die. That's actually why I bought a PS4 and I played that game. Great game.
Killzone. They have Resistance, which is not. It's still a shooter, but it's like kind of like a weird, like, if I remember right, your character has like some type of powers. He's like.
We could argue though they might want to stay to the war type of.
Yeah, and they have SOCOM. I'm pretty sure SOCOM is theirs.
Yeah.
Which used to be huge back in the day.
It's just like. FPS is the one game that clearly it doesn't seem like it dies with gamers and you can never get enough of.
Yeah.
And people want to see FPS games. So it's just like, instead of wasting all this energy towards crying, or you could have just been upfront too, like, yeah, just been honest. Like you said, they were clearly in a stronger position. People want PlayStations. Yeah, you could say you were upset about it, but stop putting up this strong front. Now clearly you put your legs, you know, your things between your legs and you're signing this deal. But now the question is, like, we see some theory crafted, like, how funny would it be if, like, Xbox now with Activision? I doubt this happens because it's like the Call of Duty name. But, like, somebody joked, we saw it on Twitter. It's like, imagine if Call of Duty ends, like the Call of Duty IP ends in 3 years and Activision just makes a new shooter called something else. And it's just like, oh, we made the deal with you for Call of Duty. This ain't Call of Duty no more. Like, you know what I mean? But that would be wild. But I also wouldn't put it past Xbox because I can see Xbox being petty. Like I said, they both are petty.
They're both petty, exactly.
They're both petty as hell. It's actually hilarious.
And when you spend roughly $70 billion, you know what?
You get
to an extent. You get to be that petty. You get to do that type of stuff, especially when.
Yeah, I still feel like $70 billion. Screw you, Sony. I ain't giving you it. Like, I don't even know. Now the question comes out. Like they said, if the deal goes through too, let's see how much talk they're talking, right? How if they can back their talk, or else it was just all smoke. They said they wouldn't give the details or plans to their PS6, which would only hurt them from a developer trying to make a game for a console, right?
Yeah.
It is weird though, having to give your PS6 schematics or whatever it entails to Activision, knowing it's like Xbox owns it. Like Xbox could definitely see something, so that is weird. But I wonder if that'll happen or not, or if that's also nonsense. You know what I mean? Very curious. But I think we could say, for the first time on this show, Kevin, we were right. We got it right. We didn't jinx Xbox. We didn't jinx Microsoft. Because for those of you who haven't tuned into other episodes, we like to make a lot of predictions on things that are currently happening. We make a prediction.
Yeah.
And then literally the week later, or when we drop the episode, it comes out the opposite way. And now it just feels good to be on the right side of things. I don't know. It just, Yep. But continuing with Microsoft, something that is a little invasion of privacy style here.
Oh, yeah.
The audio always recording, because they kind of had a new thing come up about they made it a better, they enhanced this feature now, however that may be. But apparently Microsoft is always listening.
Yeah.
How do we, is always listening, just like, who knows, everyone, the iPhones, all our phones are listening, right? Yeah. Microsoft is always listening. Like, why does my mic, or whatever it is on my Xbox, have to be always recording my voice? What are your thoughts on this?
It's just weird. I get what they're trying to do. They're trying to make it easier for people who are getting like bullied or any type of like harassed or whatever, to be able to report it by, you know, it's always recording the audio, so you can just take that previous clip of audio of being harassed or bullied and you send it straight to Microsoft. That, you know, in that front, you kind of go, okay, I get it. But if something were to happen where somebody was able to exploit that, and now people can listen in on Xbox, now that's crazy, because you just left that open because you're listening to everybody's conversation the whole time.
Yeah. I'm not too good. That wouldn't sit well with me. I mean, they even had their whole thing too on like their family accounts and everything as opposed to that too, like with their parental controls. It's just weird. I mean, they're letting it be out there for us, but I don't know, privacy, ads, and that this is a bigger picture. This has nothing to do with just gaming. Has gotten to a point where it is a little, everything kind of feels very intrusive, but it's very easy for all of us, or the common knowledge folk that just trying to play, like you just accept, you see these big things, they make you read, accept, acknowledge, accept. And it's just like the invasion of privacy, the selling of information. Like we could say, oh, it's always happened, but it's like, yeah, it's always happened, but now it keeps happening. And it's just like, now we're just okay with it because they're telling us it's okay, or it's been happening. Like, is that okay? I don't think so. Like, the whole thing with advertisements and these companies and how it's like the fact that that's so much money to go, it's actually kind of grosses me out. Like, I don't understand why people are given that kind of power. Not a fan. And then speaking of always online and recording, just moving on, just a little something else that we saw in the news was Payday, right? There's so many gamers out there that even though the new wave, the online, the co-op, everything, everyone loves being online play, right? That's what it seems to everyone. But there's still a community of gamers and people. Some people would like to just be able to play their game and not be connected to online, and all the single player games that are even offline, and hey, I can play this because God forbid your server goes down, at least I can still play. Like, so many things, like, or I don't need my internet goes down, as long as I got power, I can still play my game. Payday, right? Single player. Talk to us, Kevin. What about Payday single player, apparently?
Single player is always online, so that means you have to be connected to the internet in order for you to play even the single player, version or campaign of Payday 3, the game that hasn't come out yet. And like, to your point, like you said, if my internet goes out, can't play it. If their servers go out, can't play it. It's just, that's such a horrible thing. And I remember there were times where, like, the game that stands out in my head right now, and I don't know if you remember this, was The Sims Online. This is going back away, but The Sims Online was, I mean, it was, obviously it says online in the name, but it was only online. Like, you couldn't do anything single player. You couldn't do anything offline. Maybe it was a Sims Online. Maybe it was another Sims game. It was a Sims game or Sim City maybe, that like, it was always an online game, and people bashed the shit out of it, rightfully so, because then you couldn't
a lot of games that do it. People, the thing is, there's always such a back and forth. So I guess if we're getting on this online always thing, is the conversation, is then online always, then it's like, oh, you have the cloud saves, and it's like they can recover, stuff, like kind of deal. And then the companies don't want to do it if you go offline. People can manipulate the files, and then people are, duplicating items and get like the whole thing being offline. But then it's also like, if you're offline, or whatever it says, like the cold storage of games, and I guess that's how the hackers that do stuff with games. It's just like, if it's offline, they're not affecting anyone else.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So it's like literally a modding community and modding a game, kind of like, let me have my fun with it. If I'm not playing with it anyway. I'm just a big dip. There's a difference between playing online and playing against other people and cheating, because that shit I cannot stand. Call of Duty, Xbox. Oh, so Xbox, that's one thing you guys took over now. Welcome to Call of Duty, but get ready for the backlash if y'all don't fix that anti-cheat or start getting people, bro. Because I swear to God, I can't play that game no more. I can't. But it's semi-free. You know what? It's semi-free. Everyone's like, oh, yo, this is free on Game Pass. Don't forget that, guys. Let's not be fooled. It ain't free. You paying for it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You paying a subscription. So you paying. You're just not paying up front for the game like, ooh, it comes out.
But to your point, right before we finish off, like, there are games that have remedied this for years now. Like Diablo 2, if you remember, Diablo 2 had a single player and they had a multiplayer.
Yeah.
And you could take your single player character and bring it online, but it was separate from everybody else's. So, like, for instance, the multiplayer, the real online version, it was saved to the cloud, and you couldn't mess with that. That was something that Blizzard had. And then you had a single player character, and if you want to take that online, you could bring it online, but you couldn't interact with these group of So it was like 2 different servers basically.
Yeah.
It was like
So I
servers
guess-
where you save your own character and servers that they save the character.
And then I guess that's a cost thing for developers. It's like, okay, do they want to see? Do they want to go out of their way to be nice and give everyone, you know, the right thing? But then that's on them if you know these companies want to do the right thing, which we think is right?
Listen,
But,
if they could do it back in like 2000, I feel like
you should be able to
you
do
should
it now.
Yeah,
That's
that's basically
right.
it.
But man, I don't know how you guys feel. How do you guys feel about this episode? You know, hanging out on the couch. I got my boy Kevin. I can touch him here. You know, how's it going, man? What's going on? You know, we here. But this has been real fun.
Yeah,
we
it's
definitely
cool.
got to do this again. Believe it. But guys, please, comments, spread the video out, share it. We're trying to grow this channel. Let constructive criticism. Tell us what you need.
Yeah.
Tell us what you want to hear.
Let us know.
But
for sure.
this is great, man. Can't wait to do it again. But GAMERViCE giving you all the vice you need. You know what I mean?
There it
So catch you guys in the next one. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks.
Like, share, subscribe, all the good stuff. You already know what it is. GAMERViCE out.